Let's go live now to Liberal MP Zoe McKenzie. Zoe, what are your thoughts on the renewed debate here?
It's really interesting, isn't it? We've had Jim Chalmers telling us all what a great job he's been doing, and now all of a sudden he's going after everybody's home. So in terms of the commissioning of work they've done from the public service on capital gains tax and negative gearing, who knows where it's landed. It seems that it's an article of faith for Jim over many, many years and many, many terms of government in which he's been involved, whether as a staffer or indeed now as Treasurer. Let's hope we get some clarity, some honesty from government in terms of what their plans are. We do know that changes will affect supply. Supply is the main game right now, both supply for young families to get into the homes of their dream, but equally supply in terms of public and social housing. I had a roundtable down here with Jodie Bouyer on Friday talking about issues across the peninsula, and was told by our shire we have 400 social and public houses sitting unused at the moment, in disrepair. So you get all these pious statements from the Labor Party. The solutions are closer to home than you think. We just need to get on with it and get people into their homes.
Do you think, and I know that there's been a fierce debate around this over the years, and Shorten copped it electorally, but if the government were to do a more modest approach and grandfather all the negative gearing properties to this point and say you've got to limit 3 and over, that's when you might be paying more tax, is that something that would resonate with a lot of voters?
Kieran, I think it's interesting that we're having a good, meaningful debate around it, but it doesn't solve any of the problems right now. Right now, you've got people who can't get into a home. We had a CPI figure this morning that admittedly was 2.7, which is a good thing, but rent is still up by 7% year on year. So it is really hard for people to get sort of home security at the moment, so where they know they can rent and afford for a year or two and or make plans to get into their own home. We have to remember that the negative gearing mechanisms are actually a way for people to get into their own home. Many young people I know stick it out, rent cheap for as long as they can, but buy negative gear and just put away money every month trying to make that place a home when they can afford to live in it themselves. So I know we like to demonise the market and say it's all about people with 200 rental properties. It's not. It's often about a 25 or a 30-year-old kid might be still living at home and or renting cheap, whilst investing in a property that they'll make available to renters in the meantime and hopefully get into themselves when they can afford it.
On the inflation number, that is good news, isn't it, to see it back in the target band?
It is great news to see it in the target band, but again, you have to be really clear what the Reserve Bank governor said yesterday is she and her board colleagues are looking at core inflation. So it's gone from 3.8 to 3.4. It is the slowest tracking inflation you've ever seen. Why? Because this government keeps pumping money into the Australian economy, $315 billion of extra spending. So we're nowhere near the place where the Reserve Bank is going to feel safe in dropping rates yet. They were clear about that yesterday. They knew that the handouts in relation to electricity would have an impact, and they have. That's the biggest decrease in this month's figures, down by 18%. And then if you look at fuel as well, that's the other main drop. Groceries are still up by 7 or 8%. As I said, rents are still high, insurance is still high. They just keep tracking up month after month after month. And these things are not optional. You can't choose not to have fruit and vegetables and food on the table. You can't choose not to pay your rent. These are things people keep having to find more money in their pocket for each and every month.
It is seeing the underlying rate down, though, and it's down by more than many had expected, from 3.8 to 3.4% annually. So not as it's not in the target band, but it's not far off now.
But it's slow, isn't it? And what are we now, 2.5 years in, and we're in a kind of a sniff of an election, and I'm not sure anyone's going to see a rate decrease between now and then. And if you have to find $25,000 more each and every year to pay just the interest in your mortgage, you're not thanking Albo just yet.
Zoe McKenzie, appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week.